Hello friends, welcome. Here we will discuss in detail about the female reproductive system, particularly the ovary and its histology, where it is located and how it looks. So we will also discuss here how the primordial follicle develops into Graafian follicle and then the mature Graafian follicle rupture and the ovum comes out or the secondary oocyte comes out after its maturation and the formation of corpus luteum and corpus and the degeneration of corpus albicans. So everything is there in this video session. So keep watching till the end to understand the detailed structure, function and the histology of ovary. So let's start today's session on ovaries. We know that there are two different ovaries which are the primary sex organ in case of female. So the ovaries are almond shaped structures. These are very small. These are very small in size only. They are 2 to 4 centimeter long and the weight is just 3 grams. Okay, so these are very small structure. They are present in the abdominal cavity, in the pelvic region of female, and the ovaries are attached to the uterus by ovarian ligament. Through this ovarian ligament, the ovaries are attached with the uterus. So we know the basic structure of the female reproductive system, and the uterus is attached to the ovaries with the help of the ovarian ligament, and it is also attached with the help of oviduct. So oviduct, we know it is also called the fallopian tube. We will discuss in detail about these also. So oviduct or fallopian tubes are the tubes through which the mature ovum, after coming out from the mature Graafian follicle, this ovum is transported to the uterus through this oviduct or fallopian tube, or it is the site of fertilization where the mature ovum meet with the sperm to fuse with it, forming the zygote. So this is a very important structure. So oviduct and fallopian or the fallopian tube are the structure by which the ovaries are also attached. Okay, so they form finger-like structure which are known as fimbriae. Okay, so they are attached, the ovaries are attached with the help of these finger-like structure, the fimbriae. Okay, so they are present on either side of uterus in the pelvic cavity. Where it is located? In the pelvic cavity. On either side of the uterus, the rough structure is like this. If this is the uterus, then these are the oviducts. And ovaries are here. And these are the fimbriae, finger-like structures. So this is the uterus, and on either side of the uterus, these are the ovaries which are attached with the uterus with the help of the ligament which we call as the ovarian ligament, and these are the oviduct. These two are the oviduct or fallopian tubes. With the help of this oviduct also it is attached with the uterus. Okay, so this is the basic idea about the structure of ovary and its location, how it is fixed in its position with the help of the ligament, the ovarian ligament. Now let's move on to the histology of ovary. So let's see what is the histology. Okay, so the histology of ovary, first we will discuss about the germinal. In histology, first we will discuss about the germinal epithelium. The germinal epithelium, which is the lining of the surface of ovary. It is the simple squamous epithelium that covers the outer lining of the surface of ovary. Surface of ovary. Right? So the germinal epithelium, and another term, tunica albuginea. What is this? What is tunica albuginea? It is the whitish capsule of dense, irregular. It is whitish capsule of dense, irregular connective tissue. These are the connective tissues, and they are located immediately deep into the germinal epithelium. So after the germinal epithelium, if we will go deeper, we will see the dense, irregular, whitish, fibrous connective tissue, which are known as the tunica albuginea. So ovarian cortex is just deep to tunica albuginea. Then the ovarian cortex will come. If we will go deeper again, the ovarian cortex, and it consists of the follicles. This ovarian cortex consists of the follicles. Okay, so follicles are present in this ovarian cortex, surrounded by dense, irregular connective tissue. It is surrounded by, the follicles are surrounded by dense, irregular connective tissue. Here there are also irregular connective tissue. Okay, so follicles are surrounded by dense, irregular connective tissues. Ovarian so after ovarian medulla, there is, if we will go again in deeper, ovarian medulla is there after cortex. So here, if we will enter deeper, we will see ovarian medulla. Okay, so these are the different layers of the ovary. And in the ovarian medulla region, remember the blood vessels. Here you can see the artery and vein, the blood vessels are there. Along with the blood vessels, the lymphatic vessels are also present, and the nerve supply is also there in the region of ovarian medulla. So this is the different layers of the ovary, the wall of the ovary. The outer surface is made up of the germinal epithelium. If you will go deeper, then you will find the albuginea or tunica albuginea, which is whitish, fibrous, irregular, dense connective tissue. Then in the ovarian cortex, we will find the follicles, which are again surrounded with the help of the irregular connective tissues. And finally the ovarian medulla, where we can find the blood vessels, the nerve supply, and the lymphatic vessels coming to this ovary. So ovarian follicle consists of, you can see here, the primordial follicle. So the primordial follicles mature, and out of them some gets mature, which are known as the primary follicle. The one which gets mature is called primary follicle, and after its development, after its maturation, it continue developing. These are the developing follicles. The size of the follicle gradually increases. It is fluid filled in the center, and the follicle develop and forms the mature Graafian follicle. In the mature Graafian follicle, after its formation, it gets ruptured, and the ovum or the secondary oocyte, we call it here, it is the secondary oocyte which gets mature inside the matured Graafian follicle and comes out, liberated out. So this liberation is done by the rupture of the follicle. So this is the structure of the ruptured Graafian follicle, ruptured mature Graafian follicle, from which the ovum is liberated out, which we call the process as the ovulation. So the process of rupture of mature Graafian follicle to release the secondary oocyte to outside is called ovulation. Okay, so the secondary oocyte develop into the ovum, right? So after the rupture of the Graafian follicle, the corpus luteum is formed. We will study the different functions of this corpus luteum. It is important for the secretion of female sex hormone, and then the corpus luteum gradually degenerate to form the corpus albicans, and finally the corpus albicans disappear inside the ovary. So this is a cyclic process. Here in the diagram we can clearly show, you can clearly see the development of follicle, how the follicles develop, and the process of ovulation, how the Graafian follicles rupture to liberate ovum. So here the ovarian follicle consists of oocyte in various stages of development, plus the cells surrounding them. Here we can see the cells surrounding these Graafian follicles. When the cells are of single layer, they are called follicular cells. Let us know what are the cells surrounding the follicle. So the follicle is surrounded by a single layer of cell in the initial stage. Single layer of cells, it is surrounded. The Graafian follicle or the follicles are surrounded by a single layer of cells, and gradually they form several layers. Gradually they become several layers, which we call as the granulosa, cells. Okay, so the granulosa cells, these are the multi-layered cells which surrounds the follicular cells. They surrounds the follicular cells, and these granulosa cell provides nutrients, and they nourish the follicular cells, so that the follicular cells develop gradually to become a Graafian follicle. Okay, they nourish the oocyte for the development. A mature Graafian follicle is a large fluid-filled follicle. Fluid-filled, I have told you that it is filled with fluid. This region, red dotted sides, you can see the fluids. So the Graafian follicles are filled with fluid that is ready to rupture and expel its secondary oocyte out. It is now ready. It is the mature Graafian follicle is now ready, and it will expel the secondary oocyte, developed secondary oocyte outside. And this rupture and liberation of the secondary oocyte, and it will gradually become ovum. This process is called as the ovulation. Okay, so ovulation. The corpus luteum is produced after the Graafian follicle is ruptured, and this corpus luteum, I told you that it is important for the secretion of female sex hormone, which we called the progesterone, estrogen, relaxin. Okay, so progesterone, estrogen, relaxin, and we can also say that it also helps in the, it also secrete the inhibin. So relaxin, inhibin, estrogen, progesterone, we know these two. Progesterone and estrogen, they are the female sex hormones. They have important role in the development of the different structures, reproductive as well as all the activities in the female body. Okay, so all these hormones are secreted here. So then after the secretion, the corpus luteum degenerate into corpus albicans. Okay, so the corpus albicans have no function. These are whitish. Corpus luteum are yellow. The corpus albicans, the whitish substance, gradually degenerate and they have no function. Okay, so remember, the corpus luteum secretes these different hormones in order to carry out the process of fertilization. It is also important for the process of fertilization, and the ovum, which is released from the ruptured Graafian follicle, now present, now carried into the oviduct. It moves to the oviduct or the fallopian tube where the fertilization occurs. So the fertilization takes place in the oviduct with the help of the sperm, which fuses with the mature ovum. Okay, so oviduct is important where the liberated ovum meets the sperm. Secondary follicle develops a transparent non-cellular area which is present surrounding the ovum. Here you can see it. This structure, this rounded structure is surrounded with a structure like this. This one is called the corona radiata. The corona radiata. Okay, so there are different layers like the corona radiata, zona pellucida. Okay, so we will discuss detail about the different extracellular structures or the layers present around the ovum. In the next class, we will go in detail about that, about the other parts of the female reproductive system also. Okay, so a mature stage is called the mature stage of the follicle, remember, is known as the Graafian follicle. The Graafian follicle is the mature follicle which contains the mature secondary oocyte. And remember, the gap, the space present in these follicles is known as the antrum. Is known as antrum. Clear? And these antrums are filled with liquor folliculi. Liquor folliculi is the fluid which is present inside the antrum or the gap of the follicles. That may be primary follicle, may be Graafian follicle. Okay, so the liquor folliculi is present in the antrum, the cavity of the follicles. The follicle cells are the cells lining the cavity are formed with the membrane granulosa. So the granulosa cells are present which surrounds the follicular cells and they provide nutrients for the development of the follicular cells. When the single layer of the covering of the follicular cells become multi-layered or several layer, it is called the granulosa cells. And the membrane granulosa is also helpful in the secretion of the estrogen. Okay, so this is how the different hormones are produced from the different structures in the ovary. The function of the corpus luteum, which is formed after the rupture of the Graafian follicle, after the liberation of the secondary oocyte or the mature ovum, and how the different developmental stages are seen are here in this diagram. You can draw this diagram while answering the lung answer type questions in the boards, and important 1 mark multiple choice questions are also asked from this area in the different competitive examinations like the NEET and AIIMS. So this is all about the histology and the common idea of the development of the Graafian follicle and the process of ovulation inside the ovary. Thank you very much. If you like this video, please hit the like button, which encourages me